Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to That's Football. Bang on 3 o'clock. He's done it. I hope you're all doing very well anyway. 3 o'clock games in the Premier League. We're live on That's Football. I hope you're all doing well. I'll get the timer up on the screen in a moment for you. Yes, we're good to go here and I hope you're all ready for it. I think we're in for a good afternoon of Premier League football ahead of the Carabao Cup tomorrow, which obviously I'll be doing on the United Stand. But you can see the team news going around the screen on our stats carousel, sponsored by OneFootball. Thank you very much for them for that. We're up and running in Arsenal against Leicester. There's the team news on the screen for you. Just a bit disorganised. Come on, Leicester, says Jarry. Come on, Leicester. I'll tell you what, I think Leicester have done fantastically well in recent weeks. And I think that they might be able to give them a bit of a game, Arsenal, today. You never know what you're going to get with Leicester. They are the Forrest Gump of football, of the Premier League this year. You just never know what Leicester is going to turn up. So I'm interested to see what we get. I thought they were very good against Manchester United for 45 minutes last week. But the second half, we dominated them. And Arsenal are a very good side. So, look, I'm not going to... It's hard for me to predict. Let us know in the chat. Walt's gone with a 1-0 win to Arsenal. A 1-1 draw, which, to be honest with you, I can sort of see what you're saying. I don't want to be Michael Owen, who does, apart from his wealth. But I don't... somebody will say his daughter. That's disgusting. But the reality is that I think that it's a hard game to predict. It just depends what Leicester turns up. Look, I like doing the 3 p.m. stuff because it's always fast pace and get involved as per usual. Arsenal certainly do need to get a result. I think you always need to get a result when you're top of the league, especially when Man City are away to Bournemouth. Look, Forest got a very unlikely draw against Man City. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice. I think that maybe that, Man City are capable of doing that. We know they're capable of dropping points occasionally, but I don't think it's going to keep happening. Have we got a timer on the screen for you? We have got a timer. So I think we're just going to go with that timer because that's the actual Opta timer. And actually, because it's 3 p.m. kickoffs, we don't have it on the telly here. So I'll be able to update you with what's going on. And I could sync you in with stuff. But the reality is, some of you will be ahead, some of you behind. So let's just go with the official time clock, which is actually that one on the screen. A lot of people will be a minute behind or 2 minutes behind or 20 seconds behind. And some people who actually get to watch the Premier League games in their country will be bang on. So Ben says Fire Stick. Well, exactly. That I think we'll, just to save issues, we'll just stick with the official time clock for now. What do you think about Trossard up front? Well, I was just about to go through the team news because obviously you've got it all up on your screen now. I just want to give everybody a broad stroke of what's going on. Obviously, Everton are playing Aston Villa. We will flick between games and as goals go in and stuff like that. So Everton play Aston Villa. That's a big game. Villa have sort of been good under Emery, but the reality is Everton need to win and it's a home game, so I think that's a massive one. I think that'll be tight. Leeds Southampton is also kicked off. That's the bottom two against each other. Leicester Arsenal, of course, and then West Ham Forest, which is again third from bottom against Forest, who are they're 5 points ahead of West Ham. West Ham have got to find a way of winning that game. So 4 fascinating games at 3 o'clock today. Bournemouth are playing Man City, of course, and Crystal Palace are playing Liverpool. Now, there are not many games this Premier League weekend because obviously Brentford against Manchester United has been postponed because of the Carabao Cup final, and whoever Newcastle were going to play, I can't remember who Newcastle have got. I know it's Chelsea-Tottenham tomorrow, so I imagine Newcastle were probably playing Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace playing Liverpool at 7:45. So Newcastle must have been playing Fulham or Brighton. I don't know. Who's playing tomorrow? He says. We've got Monday Night Football? No. Tottenham-Chelsea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 games, so there's actually quite a few people playing. I don't know why the other games aren't being played because Man United would take up for 2. I don't know what's going on there. Fulham aren't playing though, are they? Fulham played last night. Yeah, not on the Goldbridge. Fulham played last night. Of course they did. Fulham drew with Wolves last night. Yes, that famous 1-1 last night. Yeah, I remember that one. I'm not really looking at the BBC website. Oh, yeah, Solomon. Well, Sarabia gave them a 23rd minute lead at the Craven Cottage, and then Solomon scored in the 64th minute. I think he's the only Israeli player to score 3 Premier League games in a row apparently. So, there we go. But Arsenal are in here with Xhaka. Cross came in, cleared away. So, yeah, that's what happened there. So it's Brighton and Brentford who don't play this weekend because they would have been playing Manchester United and Newcastle, respectively. You're the GOAT, says Timothy. Thanks very much. Hope you're all doing very well. So we've got some good games coming up this afternoon. Crystal Palace, Liverpool. I pity Liverpool having to play at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I really do. Fair play if you're going to watch that. If you've seen my Instagram story, that's my night planned out. Normally I'm on Talk Sport, but I'm not doing Talk Sport tonight because they've got live and exclusive coverage of radio coverage of Crystal Palace against Liverpool right across my show. There has been protests outside Talk Sport towers. Massive majority of people would rather there be a Goldbridge call-in show on Talk Sport than a Liverpool Crystal Palace commentary, but they've paid millions of pounds for that. So, they've not listened to the people. So Goldbridge will be having a night of pool, if you've seen my Instagram story. The first thing I've treated myself for 7 years doing this, by the way. And it wasn't that much. What do you think of Wolves last night in detail, says Robert McCormack. Well, I think it was a game of two halves, Robert, with one team scoring in the first half and the second half, the other team equalising. I'd say, without watching a second of the game and only being aware of the score 5 seconds ago, I would say that Wolves typically are a hard side to break down and Fulham have that bounce back ability. There you go. But there's two massive 6-pointers going on right now. Everybody's 0-0 at the moment, Pyro. And Ashwin says that's actually accurate. Mate, I can bullshit it. We all can. Foggy's watching from Tenerife. Hi, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, everybody who's tuning in, by the way. And Arsenal are getting out the back quite nicely. Aaron, you're right. Arsenal have started off very well. Arsenal are absolutely killing it, says Osman. They're dominating at the moment. Hopefully you've got the stats carousel going round and round. There's a few things I would like to show you. The stats, for one, have just come up on the screen there. Very early days, but look at the domination from Arsenal so far. 86% possession. 86% possession as the away team. We know Leicester can play as a team on the break, and they're certainly doing that at the moment. Well, they're not doing that at the moment, but they're certainly not getting a lot of the ball. I am going to just, for a bit of fun, just whack up the top of the table, because obviously this does have a big impact on the table as well. So we'll have the league table going round for you as well. As I said, big shout out to OneFootball. Links in the video description to download it for free. Get all your latest breaking football news and stats. They sponsor our stats carousel. As you can see, you've got the team news going round there, and you'll have stats, and you'll have the live as it stands top of the table as well. If you have not been reading the score, the scores are 0-0 across every game at the moment. We will keep you up to date with Everton, Aston Villa, Leicester, obviously Arsenal, Leeds, Southampton and West Ham Forest. Very much about the relegation battle apart from this game today, and what a relegation battle it is. But with the team news here, Leicester have lined up with pretty much the similar lineup to last week. They've got Ward, Castagnet, Suter, Faz, Christiansen, Pratt, Ndidi. Actually, it's nothing like the team last week. Pratt, Ndidi, Dewsbury Hall, Tete, Iheanacho and Barnes. No Maddison, which I think makes a big difference for Leicester. I presume he's injured again. And actually, if I'd known Maddison wasn't playing, I wouldn't have given Leicester a chance. So Arsenal very lucky. I'm sure Man City fans will be frustrated by that, because Leicester without Maddison are just not the same team. Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Jorginho, Xhaka, Saka, Trossard and Martinelli are the picks today, and Nketiah on the bench. But I just think without Maddison, Leicester are just not the same side, and I think it makes it very difficult for them to get a result today. I don't know where Maddison is. I didn't even know he was out. If we've got anybody who's knowledgeable in the chat, let us know. I presume he's probably got an injury, but Arsenal have started off very, very well here. Thanks everyone who's tuning in. Make sure you smash a like on video and subscribe. Leicester, I'll tell you what, there's a late tackle there, and he's let it go. He's not very well. He's got a knee injury and he's sick. Oh, God, poor old James Maddison. Everything's going wrong for him, apparently. He's ill, says Big Bad Bear. Okay, it looks like he's ill. Illness, yeah. Looking forward to the game tomorrow, Mark. Yeah. I think realistically, it's a tough one for United, but it's one I think we're all looking forward to. And I think Newcastle have got a chance. It's third against fourth, isn't it? I think there's a lot to look forward to. I think it'll be an interesting game. Rashford's going to play, apparently, football call. Somebody's leaked it that he's going to play, and I think they're probably not a bad source, to be honest. I think they might be very close to the player himself. So I think by the sounds of it, he's going to play. Leicester on the attack here, and good tackle. That's going to be a goal kick. I fancy Man United to win 2-0 tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, the word on the grapevine is that Rashford will be available for the final. Yeah. And I would have predicted that anyway. I really would. Hi Mark, Fury versus Paul, Watchalong tomorrow, says the Beast. Paul versus Fury, Watchalong, says Claude. I think tomorrow I'm going to have a very... What time are they having a fight? It's a bit like when we were at school. There's a fight tomorrow, first break. Where is it? Oh yeah, I'll try and skip... I'll try and get over there from Art. It's the other side of the campus. What time are they having? 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'd like to say yes, but I think tomorrow, if we win the Carabao Cup final... I'm doing Spurs-Chelsea on here, and then I'm going straight to the Carabao Cup final. So, realistically, if United win, a few Beveraginos, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Do you think it's a real fight? Good cross in by Arsenal. Do you think it's a real fight, or do you think it's... the reason I ask this is I like boxing, but I've done a lot of I've watched loads of boxing from being a very young age. I mean, Saturday night on ITV, brilliant fights. I'll never forget the Eubank and Watson and Ben era. It was fantastic boxing. So I like good boxing, but I just feel that Jake Paul can't lose because it's almost scripted that he can't lose because it's so valuable that he doesn't lose. So I would say that he will win tomorrow, or it'll be a draw, because I just don't think that commercially it works for Jake Paul to lose. So I would like Tommy Fury to win, but I just don't think Jake Paul can lose. And people will say, well, that's because he's the better boxer. But I just feel it's all a bit, I don't feel it's real. I might be completely wrong, but I just don't feel like it's real. When is the next big going for Goldbridge to cure my depression? When I get some time, Nelly, really. When I get some time. I might start filming Play Goldbridge at pool on his pool table, actually, because there's almost a series in that, isn't it? And I don't really have to go anywhere to do it. It's a Disney fight, says Ian. Look. It's like Misfits boxing, isn't it? It's like the Sidemen charity game or the EE Cup. They're very, very popular, and I've been involved in these sort of things. I'm not going to overly criticise them, but is it real boxing? No. Was that real football that I managed in the summer? No, it was a charity game, and it was very much enjoyable. But what's your score prediction for Arsenal versus Leicester, Jake? I do love these shows, by the way. It's just like sort of like chill, watch, have a chat. I personally think that Arsenal have started well, and I think the absence of James Maddison probably makes it difficult for Leicester to get a result here. But in the context of the league table, you look at what's on the screen there at the moment. That's as it stands. So obviously Arsenal have got an extra point at the moment. But if Arsenal draw today and Man City win, they'll both be on 55 points. So Arsenal need to keep on winning. And they've had a couple of, to be fair to Arsenal, they have had a couple of difficult games. I mean, from a Man United point of view, I'd like to see Arsenal draw. Why not lose? But you know what I mean? I'd like to see them drop some points because I just think it might open the door for us. But then I'm like, if Man United are not in a title race, I want Arsenal to win. And I don't think we know we're in a title race unless we go to Anfield and win next week. So there's a long way to go, isn't it? I fancy Arsenal to win is the short answer. I don't know if the Furies would partake in something scripted that tampers their name, says Corbs. Yeah, look, I would hope not. I'm going to get you to help me out with something in a bit, actually. I need a pen and paper. Nemanja says, I remember you saying United dodged the bullet not signing up a Meccano, and I think he's now the best centre-back in the world. Oh, I say a lot of things. I don't remember what the context was. Did you see that clip I tweeted today? I mean, I don't know whether it's AI or whether it's actually knitted two things together or whether I was being sarcastic. But on my Twitter feed today, somebody has clipped me up from some point in the last 3 years. And I go, Scott McTominay, arguably the best midfielder in the world. Well, I know for a fact I would never say that seriously. So I don't know whether it's somebody knitting it together with AI or I just don't know, or I was being sarcastic. But I would never mean it. I've never thought McTominay was the best midfielder in Stockport, let alone the world. So I don't know what's going on there. Chris says that you were probably being sarcastic. Yeah, that's probably why it's such a short clip, isn't it? Manchester United versus Newcastle combined 11 for the Manchester United versus Newcastle combined. I'm not playing that for you lot here. That's going up on United Stand now. Have a stretch, Mark says Oliver. We've only just got going, but still 0-0 in all the Premier League games at the moment. Apparently, Maddison's got a knee injury and a swollen ankle, says Yak. Okay. And all the Glazers staying speculation is depressing. We need to get the Manscaped out and trim the hedge funds to make the glass piss off. The Glazers piss off, says Glenny. Thanks for your super chats, by the way. Thanks everyone who's getting involved. What's your opinion on Arsenal's captain change, says Genesis? And what's the more difficult game for us? Newcastle tomorrow, Liverpool at Anfield next week, says Chiri. Well, the more important game is the game tomorrow because the next game's the most important one. Liverpool away is always one of your most difficult games of the season. So, yeah, I don't pretend to explain that any other way. I don't even know who Arsenal's captain is today. I'm just having a quick look there. Is it not Odegaard? Is it back to Xhaka? I don't know why you do that. Let me know. Oh, it was a captain change, was just a respect thing to mark the 1 year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, says Luke. There you go. There you go. Well, that makes sense. Arsenal in down the left, right hand side here with Saka, and good defending goes for a corner. Well, there's nothing more to say about the captain change then. It's logical. Man United are going to play Wrexham in the summer. Don't get me started on Wrexham. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Since when would Man United ever play a League Two side on tour in America? It's just the Disney Channel, isn't it? It just shows you what can happen with money. I'm sorry, I don't know why Wrexham fans have got a problem with me. Like, I don't have to like what you're doing. You enjoy it. Why does everyone else have to enjoy it? It's like a neighbour coming home in a pink Ferrari and me going, I'd rather it was in red. Oh, you're just jealous. I'm not. I don't like a pink Ferrari. I want a red Ferrari. I don't like your pink Ferrari. Oh, you're just jealous. He's just jealous. He doesn't even like my pink Ferrari. No, I don't, because I like a red Ferrari. But it's still a Ferrari. Well done. You enjoy it. Why does my opinion matter? I'm not in love with the Wrexham project. It's not some bloody dream come true fantasy. It's a very... they've just... You know what they've just bloody gone and done? They've just gone and bought one of Solihull Moore's good players for an undisclosed fee halfway through the season. Ryan Barnett has just gone to Solihull Moors to Wrexham. Last year, Solihull Moors were in a playoff to get promoted. Wrexham weren't. It's the power of money. That's what it is. They'll be in League One. They'll be in League Two next season, Kin. They will be. They'll get promoted this year. Anyway, let's not start talking about Wrexham. What colour is my Ferrari, mate? I've just bought myself a pool table. That's the extent of my expenditure. Although I must admit, I'm not going to give names away because I think these sort of things can get people, unnecessary hate or whatever, and I'm not in for that. I did turn up at an event about 4 years ago when all the YouTube beef stuff was going on. I turned up in my Vauxhall Astra, and this other guy turned up in a top of the range Land Rover Sport with all the trim. And I was like, no wonder people think you're a dickhead. Mark, you were taking the piss out of Fred saying he probably thinks McTominay is the best midfielder in the world. Jack, thank you very much for the context there. And idea for a name of you starting a playing pool series, knowing me, knowing Q, with Mark Goldbridge. Could see if Sue Cook's available, says Luke Jones. I think that's a great name. Knowing me, knowing Q. It's very, very close to that. Do you think Saka should demand more than £200,000 a week, Mark, says Jay? Hey, talk to me, Jay. I don't know anything about this. What's this all about, Jay? What's it all about? I think Saka will end up at Man City if Man City don't get charged. It's inevitable, I think. He'll go to Man City and Pep. Saka's on 30 grand a week, says Northie. I'm going to have a stretch now. Anyway, I've got... I might. What I will say is I might use these for some ideas, but I actually was... after the 8 o'clock show last night, I ran down the road for a couple of pints, and it ended up being more than a couple of pints. And I was having some chat. Funnily enough, we was talking about Wrexham, but it started off with me going on about how the Premier League is the best league in the world, right? And somebody was trying to say, well, surely it's Serie A if Napoli win the Champions League. I said, you're having a laugh. You don't understand what I'm on about. What does Ryan Reynolds do in League Two? Wrexham, says Tom Grant. I said, well, I've got another hot take for you because I am not in love with the Wrexham project. I haven't watched their show on Disney Channel. I'm not going to. And I wish them all the best, but I don't think it's a fairy tale. What's a fairy tale about? You know, a fairy tale is Cinderella being suppressed by an evil stepmother, having to do all the pots and the dishes, sweep up, and walk around in crap clothes. And then Prince Charming comes and rescues her. She's a diamond in the rough. You know, that's a fairy tale. Wrexham getting multi-millionaires to buy them and then buy loads of good players to make them good. That's not a fairy tale. You send that to Puffin Books or, you know, any other book publisher as a fairy tale. They're going to go, that's not a fairy tale. That's not a fairy tale. That's inevitable. Give a National League side the wealth of a Championship side, and what a surprise, they start winning. Oh, it's an absolute fairy tale. I'll tell you what would be a fairy tale. Me, with no money, getting hold of Solihull Moors and getting them promoted to the Premier League. That would be a fairy tale, because that would just be Goldbridge ball, wouldn't it? But it's not a fairy tale when... it's not a fairy tale, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I don't care, because it's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not trying to tell you to agree with me. I'm just telling you that's my opinion. I don't think it's a fairy tale, and I don't look at their results and go, oh, I'm glad they've won again. I know a lot of people do. Fair play. I guarantee you, and I like the lad, but I guarantee you Thogden is the sort of person who loves the Wrexham story, and he's probably been to watch them. You know, he is exactly the sort of person who will love the Wrexham story. And for me, I'm sure we'll see them in the Premier League at some point in the next decade. Well done. But it's for me, I've seen this with Man City. I'm not surprised Man City win the league because they've got a lot more money than everyone else. Please do a snooker watch along for the Worlds, Mark. And Alex Golding says, do you speak to Don Robbie anymore? Yeah, I don't get involved in these little conversations anymore. That's for sure. I think it's obvious from the lack of content that of what's happened there. Do you agree Upamecano is the best centre back in the world? Says Nemanja. No, I actually think Rafael Varane is. So yeah, this is the second week in a row this has happened. By the way. Second week, I was just about to say it's the second week in a row this has happened. We've had a load of 0-0s. We've actually just had more than that. We've had a goal at Everton, and apparently, I think we've had a goal at Everton. Just going to get this double checked. Andreas J says there hasn't been a goal at Everton. I don't think there has. It's still 0-0. Confirmed by Bridge. It's still 0-0, and there was an offside. So unfortunately, Sean, I can't believe it. Offside. Offside. What's this new rule? VAR's in the mud. I've never even heard of offside. Offside? What's that all about? They're making up rules now. There's no such thing as offside. He's having a laugh. Offside. Pratt side. What's he on about? It's still 0-0 between Everton and Aston Villa at Goodison Park, and it's a massive game. It's also a massive game between West Ham and Nottingham Forest as well. It's also a massive game between the other game down near the bottom, which is Leeds and Southampton. But unfortunately, we are in a situation where we were last week, where we're doing the 3 o'clock games, and we've had no goals in the first half an hour so far. We do need a goal. Leicester are really struggling here, says Christian. They are great games, Dino. We just need some bloody goals in them. I mean, we will. We'll get some goals at some point, I'm sure. But we haven't had any goals yet. Solihull Moors are not doing very well this season, Lee, to be honest with you. They choked this season. There's no other way of describing it. It's the 3 o'clock curse, says Aziz. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. We're on our road to 914,000. Bottom right-hand corner to subscribe. Get involved with That's Football. You're all very, very welcome. I believe Arsenal have scored. It's a Trossard goal, and it's 1-0 to Arsenal from a corner. I'll take it from the chat that it has happened because there's so many people talking about it. And it's a very good goal. It's a very, very good goal by Trossard. He's whipped it into the top corner. A poor punch by the keeper Ward, and a very good finish by Trossard for Arsenal. And I think that there's a bit of talk from the keeper. He wants a foul. I don't think he's going to get it. But it's 1-0 to Arsenal. I think the keeper Ward is trying to say he was fouled. It's certainly no offside. It's a goal. There's nothing going to go wrong here. No, it's just poor goalkeeping, and an absolutely fantastic finish by Trossard. To be honest with you, it's just poor goalkeeping and a very, very, very good finish by Trossard. Smack into the top corner, and 1-0 to Arsenal after 27 minutes. So there you go. And I tell you what, if Arsenal do go and get the win, which I suspect they probably will now, then it's 2 wins in a row for them. Trossard and Jorginho may have been second choices, but they're scoring more important goals, says Connor. He's going to check VAR. They are going to check VAR. It's not going to be a goal, says Matt. It's going to be a foul. He's holding his arm. Yeah, that's a foul. It's not a goal. Arteta, I mean, you know what? I think Arteta's done a great job, and I almost think I should be on Arteta's Christmas card, because when Arsenal fans were saying Arteta, and doing T-shirts, I was saying give him time. But I do find him quite irritating at times, and the fact that he's moaning about that goal not being given, I think it's a goal, but to be fair, VAR has picked out something very, very good. Ben White is holding the goalkeeper's hand. You can't see it, and that's probably... I've got to say, I cannot see how that goal gets disallowed until VAR catches that camera angle of him holding the hand. So it's a very good decision from VAR. But why Ben White would do that, I don't know. And it's a shame, because it's a very good goal by Trossard, but it's a clear foul, and VAR's got that right. Happy says, how is that a foul? Dreadful refereeing. Well, as I said, when you initially see it 3 or 4 times, you're like, that's a goal, come on, let's play on. And VAR has spotted something where he's literally holding one of the goalkeeper's arms down. It's a foul, you can't do that. You can't do that. Darwin says, if that was United, you'd be absolutely fuming. I'd be fuming with the player who did it. I'd be fuming with the player who did it. I would be fuming, you're right, because as soon as you see what Ben White's done, you know VAR is going to overturn it. So whether it's right or not, you know they're going to overturn it because he's quite clearly holding his hand. So whether you think it's right or wrong, I think any Arsenal fan who's watching this and has seen that will go, it's never going to get given. Whether it's right or wrong is it's up for discussion, but you know it's getting disallowed. They caught it because his fake tan left the stain on the goalie's glove, says Kevin. And it's just look, in the context of football, it's a shame because Trossard's goal was good. Leicester have just scored, but it's offside. He's way offside. I think it's Iheanacho, but he's offside. Yeah, way offside. And a very rare win for VAR. To be fair, a very rare win. A very rare win for VAR. Thanks everyone who's tuning in, by the way. Loving the show. Hope you're all doing very well. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We've got a very, very interesting weekend of football. I'm gonna do Chelsea Spurs tomorrow because I think that's massive for Chelsea. And then we're going to do the Carabao Cup final straight after. So it's a Super Sunday tomorrow, and very much looking forward to it. So don't forget to get involved tomorrow on here and on United Stand. But look, Arsenal probably done enough to be in front, but they're not. And still 0-0 in all the other games, of course. We've had a bit of drama in the Arsenal game, but still 0-0 here and still 0-0 in all the other massive games. And I've got to be honest with you there. It's a very, very big game, a very big hat-trick of games in the relegation battle. Southampton, Leeds, somebody's got to win that. And Forest at West Ham. West Ham need that. And Everton against Villa. It's an home game for Villa. People are saying there should be a penalty. Is it a penalty? Maybe a penalty, says Wayne. I think if VAR is doing its job today, you've got to give it. You've got to give it. I mean, it's a soft penalty if it's given because Suter is always... No, they're not going to give it. They're not going to give it. The only thing I would say about that is that it's Suter against Saka in the air and Suter's always going to win it. But a foul's a foul, isn't it? But it's not been given. It's not been given. Arsenal fans are going mad in the chat, but it's not been given. The game's gone way past that now. There's no review of it. Still 0-0. Palace versus Liverpool predictions. Liverpool got a win, pro. Got a win. No penalty. Not been given. Not going to get reviewed. We'll do it at half time. Actually, I've got a little bit of a topic at half time. We'll talk about that. Don't worry about that. Should it have been a penalty? Well, it wasn't a penalty. Is the clear answer there. Please do subscribe to the channel. Bottom right-hand corner. You're all very welcome on That's Football. Big game day today, and we'll be doing Chelsea Spurs tomorrow. I was very sad, actually, to hear that Graham Potter has been subject, and his family have been subject of death threats. I don't know what it's like to be a manager of a football club, but obviously that United Stand is quite big, and That's Football is quite big, and you know you get a lot of people who like it, you get a lot of people who don't like it, and you do get some pretty horrible things said. It's par for the course. Obviously, if it's really serious, you've got to let the authorities know, and I hope Graham Potter's let that know. But it comes with the territory. But it's sad. It's sad that he's had that, and I don't actually get it. I don't think Graham Potter has done enough wrong at Chelsea to be subjected to all the stuff he has. And I think that there's people I quite like who are Chelsea fans, and I look at some of their you've sort of jumped the shark a little bit. Every bit of content you do has to be something really, really aggressive. Whether it's this player's a flop, get them out of my club. And it's like, one of the things I do like about what we have on That's Football in a general football sense is there will be, I think that I felt Lampard needed to go for a long time, but I think it was logical. I just think people are incapable these days of just having a holding stance. And I had it with Solskjaer. I had people on that United stand who were saying, get rid of him. Why won't you say get rid of him? And I'd say, I'm not quite there yet. And I just don't think, a lot of people these days don't seem to be able to be on amber. It's always green or red. And I think with Potter, it's definitely the amber zone. I don't think it's the red zone. But people are just so quick to change things. And I just think he's being victimized because of his persona, because he's not jumping around like Conte does and stuff like that, and Mourinho did. I don't think that's a reason to be getting rid of a manager. And people will say, well, I think it's a reason because the results aren't good. You've just spent £300 million in January. I just don't know why they can't just give him till the end of the season. What do you think is gonna happen to Chelsea by changing your manager now? I don't think anything's gonna happen. If anything, it could get worse. And I don't think it's right that he gets death threats. I think it's disgusting. Now, I'm not on my TalkSport show tonight because they've got live coverage of Crystal Palace against Liverpool. So Goldbridge gets the Saturday night off, which I haven't had for a while. So I'll be on the Hells, Camden Hells, and a bit of pool tonight on my new pool table, which you can see on my Instagram at Goldbridge Mark, with a cameo from Seb, because he's just learning to start playing pool. Got him a little cue, and he's doing all right actually for a first session. Yeah, so it's a bit, but anyway, going back to my point, I'm doing Chelsea's trip to Spurs tomorrow, and I think it's a massive game, absolutely massive. Spurs need to get back in the top four race, and I think Chelsea can't afford to lose tomorrow. I think if he loses tomorrow, as I said, you can't lose at home to Southampton. You can't lose two in a row. So, yeah, it's. I'm not going to say that it's acceptable that the results that they're having, but I think it's acceptable to give him some time, but at some time you've got to turn it around. Those Chelsea players have got to do better. I don't know what the situation is with Reece James, but hopefully he'll be back, because they need to have these players back. Spurs are already in the top four races. Chubby, yeah. Not gonna deny that. That's why it's a big game. Abdallah says, I didn't see the offside. What happened? There wasn't an offside. Trossard, cross came in. Danny Ward punched it terribly. Trossard on the edge of the box, whips it in the top corner. Fantastic finish. You think it's 1-0 to Arsenal. You can't see anything wrong. There's no offside. You can't see a foul on the goalkeeper. VAR calls the referee over. And in amongst it, Ben White's got hold of the other hand of Danny Ward, so he can't jump properly. So very good decision by VAR, but unnecessary. Maybe, but then again, if Danny Ward's not being held, maybe he gets a better punch on it. So you can see why it was disallowed. And it remains what it is. Clear foul, says MP. Actually good work by VAR. Or sometimes VAR works. I think they're determined to start making VAR find those sort of things, aren't they now, because of the mistakes that have been made this year. But still 0-0. I'm just putting up a Goldbridge combined 11 on the United stand as a short. That's why I'm not looking at you at the moment. I'm just typing out the video description. And what? That's weird. Probably. There we go. Well, I think from every angle you see the foul. He is holding his hand. He's holding his other hand. I mean, they're always going to give it, I think. They're always going to give it. Still 0-0 in all our other games. We've gone 40 minutes again. This happened last week. 40 minutes, no goals in 4 Premier League games. Benjamin says, a lot of people were saying that Jesus would be supposedly back for this game. How do you think he's going to impact on Arsenal's season? Oh, he's a quality player. He's played the game. And Couch says, Mason Greenwood thought. I've spoke about it on United Stands. I don't really want to talk about it anymore, as I said on the United Stand, to be honest, mate. I'm not dodging the question, but I did say on that show, I'm tired of talking about it, and United just need to make a decision. Wales versus England later for you, says Cal. I don't know. I've not really watched the rugby this year, but I might catch a little bit later. Let's have a look what we've got. Scores and fixtures. 4:45. Yeah, I'll probably switch it on. Ireland only just beating Italy 2024. Scotland, France tomorrow. Wales against England at Wales today. England. I do like the rugby, but I haven't really watched the Six Nations this time, if I'm honest. But yeah, Jesus back for Arsenal. I think it's the old cliche, isn't it? It's like a new signing. They haven't had him since before the World Cup. He's a top quality player. They do miss having a top quality striker, and he'll certainly bring that to them. So, I mean, I think the thing is, if Arsenal can win today, if you look at their next few fixtures in the Premier League, and I'm interested to see what Arsenal are going to do with the Europa League as well. I don't know what people think. If you're Arsenal, do you go for the Europa League? Do you looking at, they've got Everton at home on Wednesday night, which is obviously a very big game for them. They've got Bournemouth at home. So, good run of fixtures, Fulham away. But Fulham away is on the Sunday at 2:00 after playing Sporting Lisbon away. And that could be dangerous because Fulham are a good team. And then they've got Crystal Palace straight after the second leg against Sporting Lisbon. So I just don't know what Arsenal just need to be careful, because their next 2 games you'd expect them to beat Everton and Bournemouth at home. But Fulham away and Crystal Palace at home after Europa League ties, have Arsenal got the squad to go hard in the Europa League? And will they go hard in the Europa League? I don't know. But no, I think I expect Arsenal to win their next 2 games. So there we go. Mark, can you do an F1 watch-along next week? Says Leroy. Depends what time it's at. After Sunday, Veghorst or Elanga? Says Kyle. Veghorst. Hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard, says John Roberts. There we go. Arsenal have got a lot of London derbies to come. Well, we're approaching half-time. Please do subscribe to the channel. I've got a bit of a question to ask you at half-time, actually. Where do I think Bellingham will go, says Joe? I'm going to do a keep-up challenge at half-time as well, because I haven't done any keep-ups today. Jesus would suit Ten Hag, says Ash G. I think Bellingham at the moment is going to Liverpool. United can't join the race until they've been bought, and that might not even happen. I did a both teams to score Aka all 8 teams, says Robert. Well, Robert, it's not looking good, bruv. But it can change. It can change very quickly. Would you rather have no legs or have no arms, says Charlie? I think you've got to go with arms, haven't you? You'd rather have no legs. I mean, just think about it. Picking your nose, wiping your arse, typing, other things. Yeah. I mean, I can't just do keep-ups all day with no arms. I'd rather have... I think I'd go for the arms. No legs. You could get prosthetic legs, says Ollie. They're pretty good, Pretty good. Are you going to play Hogwarts Legacy on Twitch, says Matt? Nah. Would you rather have broccoli for hair or carrot for a nose? Oh god, yeah. Listen, I don't mind those sort of questions, the either ors. But I mean, I prefer the what would you rather have for tea tonight, lasagna or fish and chips? And I'm probably more in a. I think I'm more in a lasagna mood tonight. I'm actually having an Indian tonight. Yeah, probably have butter chicken. Mark, the F1's at 3 o'clock next Sunday, says Leroy. Well, it's a big no then, isn't it? Because Man United are playing Liverpool next Sunday. I don't do Fantasy Premier League, Abra. Thank you very much for all the super chats, by the way. I like broccoli, by the way. Can I just shock you? I like broccoli. If somebody gave me a bowl of broccoli for my lunch, I'd eat it. Bit of ketchup, dip broccoli in. It's one of those weird vegetables that I'd rather have a bowl of broccoli than a packet of my favourite crisps. Now, that might shock people, but I love broccoli. I love it. I could easily just eat broccoli. I love it. Absolutely love it. What vegetable do you really like? And I tell you what as well, this will shock you even more. My local pub is very famous for their chicken wings, and you can get chicken wings in barbecue sauce. They do a hot sauce. They do like a bacon and maple syrup sauce. Very, very nice. Chicken. I was in there last week and I ordered their vegetarian alternative, which is cauliflower. So the chicken's always sort of battered a bit anyway, and it was battered cauliflower in that. Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm not a vegetarian. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a choice. I get the fact that people want to be a vegetarian because they don't like the way that meat is from animals and they see it as cruel. I get it and I respect it. But I get the fact that Spurs don't win trophies, but I'm going to support them out of sympathy. I like supporting Man United. And I know they're completely different things, but what I'm saying is I respect for vegetarians, but I'm not a vegetarian. That's not why I picked cauliflower. I'm not signing for Vegetarian FC. I just like vegetarian. I like some vegetables. I like cauliflower and I like broccoli. Sue me. No, I do. At Christmas, I like to get one of them round cheese things. Carambu, is it? And camembert, that's it. I'm thinking about the French footballer. Camembert, you cook it. You cook this camembert. It's like a circle. You cook it, and then you open the top, and it's full of soft melted hot cheese. And then you can dip bread in it, but I like to dip carrots in it. Yeah. Right, we're at half time. It's half time here. 0-0 in every game. The Premier League has fallen off. It's 0-0 in every game here. And there's a bit of controversy. Odegaard is speaking. Did VAR get the Arsenal goal right? We're going to talk about that first. I'm going to run a poll as well. This is what we do. Interactive. Do you think you have a better chance to skip past 5 defenders Messi-like than Scorpion kick it into top left bins or finish a full English breakfast, says Bozo? I'd always finish a full English breakfast. Would you rather always have that uncomfortable feeling like you need to trump or always have bad breath, says Luke? Luke. And do you think Weghorst is working better than Ronaldo in this United team? If so, how, says that? Luke, I can't even answer that question. I really can't. I think it's... we're getting silly now. Should Arsenal goal have been ruled out? Yes or no? Get your votes in the chat. There's a poll going there. So it's 0-0 at half time in all games at the moment. Second half will be coming up in about 15 minutes. And remind me to ask you the question. Hi, Mark from Malta. We'd love for you to visit, says Luke. I'm hoping to... I'm doing... I've sold Dublin out in 2 nights, over 2 nights. We've still got tickets for Manchester and London, March international break. Once we get those shows out of the way, we're going to look at some other stuff over the summer. Might be in America, doing some stuff. But quite like the idea of doing Malta because they've got a very rich history with Manchester United. So, fingers crossed. Favourite sandwich, Mark, says Speedy. Triple decker, O'Brien's in Ireland. Yeah, I've made it on my channel as well if you ever want to make it at home. Bryce says, if United tour comes to Chicago, I will take you on a food tour of the ages, one of the best food cities in America behind New York City. I would love that, Bryce. And I'm going to Wembley tomorrow, says Avram. You better not have a second name called Glazer, because you're not bloody welcome. And I tell you what, I bet you are Avram Glazer, because it's a $2 super chat when you're bloody loaded and you're about to make $6 billion. You're not welcome at Wembley. I'm joking if you're not Avram Glazer. A few days ago on a watch-along, you said how much you love drinking water. Have you ever drank water after brushing your teeth? What a feeling, says DJ Captain. I like those sort of things. I love those sort of things. I like that. Keep that sort of coming. 65% of you so far said the Arsenal goal should have been ruled out. 35% of you are saying no, it shouldn't. Burnley are battering us, but you make it better, Mark, says Robert. On the goal, when I first saw it, I thought it was bad goalkeeping, and it's a bad punch by Ward, and then it's a really good finish from Trossard on the edge of the box. I couldn't see any reason for the goal to be ruled out. And I think that Yana says, don't you think that VAR is becoming useless? Ronaldo's just scored a penalty in the Saudi League, says Shafi. Okay, I scored a hat-trick down the park today. It's the same thing. But my point is, the reality is that I can see why Arsenal fans are pissed off, because you watch it, you see it, you go, that's a good goal, and you think, we're 1-0 up. And then VAR goes and finds something. And it's not like Casemiro's red card where you're like, why have you gone and found that? It actually is to do with the goal. And as soon as I saw it, if you haven't seen it, he punches with that hand, this hand is by his side, and Ben White's holding it. Now, I don't know what the force is on the hand. It might just be holding hands. He might like holding hands with goalkeepers. I don't know. But the reality is he's visually got hold of this hand. Now, that could impact with how you jump. Maybe he goes with two hands to punch it. Some goalkeepers do. Maybe he tries to catch it. So the minute you see it, I've got to be fair to VAR, it's got to be a foul. There is an argument to be had, the context of how impactful the hold is, but you're never going to get that. You're not going to get that stat. And imagine that, the visuals there, and then it's got a little table of the velocity of the hold and the grip would be enough to kill a cat, but a lion, who is also a cat, would just shrug it off and catch the ball. Like, you know, we don't know how severe the hold is, but ultimately, I think VAR has got it right, because they found a foul on the goalkeeper that we can never quantify how severe the hold is. It might just be nothing. It might be the penalty that Man United conceded on Thursday. There's no way Bruno Fernandes, that's not a penalty for Barcelona. Now, we beat them anyway, so it doesn't matter, but that's not a penalty. It's not a penalty today against Leicester. It's not a penalty tomorrow for Chelsea. It's never a penalty, because Bruno Fernandes just sort of does that across his elbow. And when you're walking around New York or London or Delhi, if someone does that to your elbow, do you fall to the ground and go, GBH, lock him up? No, you don't. So we don't know the context of how hard White's grabbed hold of him, but visually, they're going to give it. I think they're right to give it. But I'd be pissed off with Ben White if it was Arteta, because ultimately that should be a goal. Why do that? Would you rather have to fight a chicken every time you go in the car, or have to fight a violent orangutan with a sword once a year? Says Matt. God, what's going on today? Beach says, do you think VAR would improve if we could hear the refs communicating what they're thinking and what the call is? They're doing this in the XFL, says M Beach. I like what they do in rugby. I like what they do in rugby. I mean, it's not you don't get the debate, but you do get the conversation. You know, what about the Saka penalty? Amir, I haven't seen enough of that, but if it gets given, I don't think anybody is going to say anything other than it's soft. So I think you've probably, if you're an Arsenal fan, you've got more of a case to say that you should have had a penalty than you have of saying that the goal shouldn't have been disallowed. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely connection there. I mean, he's never going to win the header. He's not been, it's not depriving a goal-scoring opportunity because it's Suter. But Suter's fell over. So I think you're right. I think there could have been a penalty there. Well, let's do a poll. 64% said the goal should have been disallowed. Who thinks it should have been a penalty for Arsenal? Let's do that. Good idea. Should Arsenal have got a pen? Should Arsenal have got a pen there? I don't know. Arsenal against Manchester United against Newcastle tomorrow. Carabao Cup final will be on the United stand. Before that, we're doing Chelsea Spurs on here. I think I can do it because, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, Chelsea play Spurs tomorrow at 1:30, which means it will finish just before 3:30, which means it can go straight from here to Man United Newcastle. Yes, that's how it's going to work. We're on it. You can't impede with a keeper in the 6-yard box unless he's called Glazer, in which case you should break his legs, says delegate official. Okay. So yes, it's 0-0. I mean, the bigger picture is that it's 0-0 in every bloody game at the moment, which is unbelievable. We've got 4 massive Premier League games going on. If you want to see my combined Newcastle Manchester United 11, I've just loaded it up onto the United Stand page. If you want to check that, that'd be good. Just looking at my mates coming round. He's just giving me his Indian order. Shall I read it out to you? What do you think about this for an Indian order? So this is not mine. Chicken tikka jalfrezi, king prawn zinger, mushroom pilau and plain naan. Yeah. I think that's for 2 people as well. Not bad. Bit boring, says someone. Sounds like a meal, says Earthling. Good, says Sartak. Ronaldo's got a hat-trick. And that's a dry meal, says Ola. And spicy, says Ryan. Please do subscribe to the channel. So there it is at the moment. If Arsenal were to draw and Man City... Oh, it's bloody moved. They're the stats. That's the stats so far. 27% possession for Leicester. They've not had a shot on target or a corner or a shot at all. Arsenal need to win this game. I mean, look at that. That's embarrassing. That's how bad Leicester are when James Maddison doesn't play. Because Leicester were good against Man United last week, and they were good the 2 games before that. Today, they've gone back to shit, Leicester. They're the home team, and they're doing absolutely nothing. So Arsenal have got to find a way to win this game because it's embarrassing. It really, really is. But look, let's have a look at the top of the league table as it stands. Arsenal with a draw would be 3 points ahead of Man City. So if Man City were to win against Bournemouth, which I think they would, they'd be joint top. Obviously, Arsenal would have a game in hand. Man United would be 6 points off the top then, with a game in hand on Man City. Same games played as Arsenal. So Arsenal need to win this game because otherwise they're sort of opening up the door to the Manchester clubs, aren't they? As it is. I'm just going to try and do a few keep-ups because I want to have a stretch, and I always like to do a bit of a keep-up challenge. I haven't done any today. Let's move the light out of the way. Not done any today, so I think I'm going to use this ball. Just so you know there's a real one there. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Oh, it's not a very big gap. Might need a warm-up. Oh, you bastard. 83. I really thought I was going to hit 100 then, and that one that took me over there, I brought it back, and the chair, I would have done 100. Oh, well. 83. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. Evans can do 370. The most I've ever done is 690. But indoor, in a metre squared, that's basically what I was just doing there. The bloody chair hadn't have been there, I'd have got that back under control. 83 is not bad. I do left foot, right foot as well. I'm not having any. I don't count. When I was on stage with Ben Foster, he started doing right foot, right foot, right foot. I said, that's not, no. I've played the game. Keep up challenge, left, right, left, right, left, right. You can't do that. Bulgarian boy, thanks very much for the super chat. Polls are pointless. The amount of bias in the chat is off the charts. You all know that was a penalty. You can't fall and drag a player to the ground, says Baked Potato. I still think, mate, I'd still take the positive. 43% are saying Arsenal should have had a penalty. 57% are saying they shouldn't. I still think you're going to get bias because people don't like you. So it's still 50-50 really, isn't it? Do I think it was a penalty? I haven't seen it enough to be completely making my mind up. But from what I saw, I'd want a penalty if that was against United. And I'd be bloody fuming. I don't care whether it's soft. You know, when I used to play, if I was in the box and someone left their foot out, I'd kick it and go down and I'd get a penalty. And people would go, oh, it's a dive. It's not a dive. You've tried to tackle me, you've missed, and then I've clipped your foot on purpose and I've gone down. Don't put your foot out and miss, because I'm going to take advantage of it. It's not simulation. It's a bad tackle. You're an idiot, and I want a penalty for it. So I think if that happens for United, I want the penalty. So I can understand what Arsenal fans are talking about, but I will admit I haven't seen it loads. So there we go. Timbo says it was a soft goal that got ruled out and we should have had a penalty as well. There we go. If you kick your foot, it's not simulation. I know it's simulation, but what I'm saying is, if I'm going to create a penalty because someone stuck their foot out, I'm definitely not going to be bothered about a soft penalty. If someone fouls me and it's soft, it's a penalty. You know, if it's a penalty, my thing that annoys me is when people say it's a soft penalty. Of course, if Man United concede a soft penalty tomorrow, I'll be furious. But, you know, technically, it's still a penalty. What annoys me is when you used to hear it, and I don't hear it as much now because I don't listen to commentary, because I'm normally live chatting with you good people. I used to hear it a lot. Oh, it's a bit soft to be a penalty. If it happens outside the box, it's a foul, but you can't give a penalty for that. Oh, there's a special rule, is there? Can I have a look at that rule book, please? Can I have a look at the FA or the UEFA rule book that says if it's in the penalty, it's got to be 50% more severe than a foul outside the box? A foul is a foul. A handball is a handball, and there should be consistency about it. And I think that, you know, I can understand Arsenal fans being a bit pissed off. The number of shambolic decisions Arsenal have had against them is a disgrace. Brentford, Everton, and now 2 in this game. Well, Rudy, I do think VAR got it right. I don't think I think the penalty one is a little bit more. I mean, look, we had a penalty given against us. Man United against Chelsea, as Rahul's absolutely correct. A similar thing happened, penalty given. It was soft and it really did annoy me. And I said it shouldn't have been a penalty, but obviously consistency is key. And we're not getting it, are we? But look, it's 0-0 between Everton and Villa. It's 0-0 between Leeds and Southampton. And it's 0-0 between Leicester and Arsenal. And it's 0-0 between West Ham and Nottingham Forest. It's 0-0 everywhere at the moment. And just to give you a little bit of an update, Villa and Everton, very equal game going on there. Leeds and Southampton, statistically, Leeds have had more of the ball and more shots than Southampton. West Ham and Forest, I mean, I think West Ham have got to win this. 9 shots to 2, but possession-wise it's quite equal, and Forest have actually had more shots on target. So all those games really interesting. If you give a penalty for that, every player becomes Sterling and Grealish, says Joshua. And Arsenal fans seem to think any decision goes against them is wrong, says Sean. Well, second halves have kicked off. I'm sure we're going to get some goals, but we've had a whole half of football where 4 Premier League games have had no goals, and they all matter. They all matter. So let's see what the second half has got to bring. Leicester to win this 3-0. Leicester haven't even had a shot on goal. No half-time subs, no. West Ham fans are so quiet, can only hear the Forest away fans, says Mobs. Yeah, they've got to find a way. They've got to find a way. I think we might have had an Arsenal goal here right at the start of the half, which would be a great start for them. Martinelli. Yeah, terrible goalkeeping. It's 1-0 to Arsenal now. That won't get ruled out, although Martinelli's gone down clutching his knee. Oh, I tell you what, that must be bad to score a goal and then go down and hurt your knee. I think he's in trouble here. It's a big goal for Arsenal, but he's down. And he is down. And he is hurt. So big boost for Arsenal here. They're winning 1-0. But he's hurt. And I don't see any reason you'd go down like that. All the Arsenal players are around him. I think it was Zinchenko with the assist. But I don't really see why you'd go down here. If you weren't injured. I mean, it's a goal. It's definitely a goal. It's definitely going to get given. But it seems to me like he has he twisted it or has he been stood on? Lovely bit of play. I think it might have been Odegaard. It's Trossard with the assist. And Martinelli's finish is good. Oh, he gets trodden on. He might be all right then. I thought he twisted his knee. I think he might be all right. He's been trodden on, so it's probably just pain more than... when it's your knee, you tend to do it with nobody around you. You twist it. He's been trodden on there, so I think he might be all right. But it was probably very, very painful for him. And I don't think it's like a cruciate ligament or anything like that. I think it's the pain of being stood on. But it's 1-0 to Arsenal here, and it's a very good start for them to the second half, and a very bad start. I mean, God, how Leicester must be. Brendan Rodgers must be bloody fuming. You've got to start the second half better than that, and they're losing. Let's see what happens. Suter reminds me a lot of Maguire, says Darcy Phillips. He's fine. He's walking. I told you he's fine. He's absolutely fine. He's up and walking. It's the pain of being trodden on. That's what it is. So it's not going to be anything bad there. Please subscribe to the channel. Bottom right hand corner. We've had a goal very, very quickly in the start of the game here. Martinelli. And right at the start of the second half. And remember, Leicester haven't even had a chance in this game. So for them to get back into the game, they'd have to actually have a shot on goal, which I don't think they will. Ireland have beaten Italy, says Ivan 3420. Thanks for the update there if you're interested in the rugby. And Mark, did you hear Stevie Nicol still denying that Martinez is a good defender? Talk about penguin holing yourself into a stupid position and not being able to admit your wrongs, says Kyle. I mean, who has to watch Craig Burley and Steve Nicol, by the way? I mean, what are they on? Like... I mean, yeah, drugs, literally, but that's not the question I'm asking. I mean, what outlet are they on? Because I hear about them. There's another one, Shaka Hislop, used to be in goal for Newcastle. They've got a right selection of prats. I'm surprised that actually Americans have to listen to that. Well, I feel sorry for Americans. But, you know, in America, I watch a bit of American sport, and they have really good pundits who've never played the game. Why don't ESPN just bin them off and get some people? I'll go and work for them. I'm not commuting and I'm not going to go and live there. But, I mean, literally, I'm not joking. I'd be a better pundit on ESPN than Steve Nicol or Craig Burley. They are constantly over the last 4 years, do I get sent clips of them talking shite. Absolute shite. It's having played the game, it's a passport to talk shit when you retire, don't you? It's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So apologies to any ESPN viewers because they weren't good footballers and their opinions are shit. No, they would never get a job in the UK, and we've got some pretty crap ex-player pundits, but they would never get a job. That's why they're on your telly. They ain't never going to get a job over here. I mean, Dante says that Steve Nicol says Martinez is not very good. I mean, you speak to any Arsenal fan, Liverpool fan, Chelsea fan, and you catch them when they're not being bitter, they would admit that Martinez is a really good centre-back. I mean, Arsenal tried to buy him. It's just, as I said, this happened in the YouTube space about 5 years ago. Begrudgingly, I was part of it as well. This whole YouTube beef, sort of, my club's better than your club. Football's moved on. Football's moved on, and you've got pundits who think like it as well. Martinez is shit because I think he's shit. You're an idiot, mate. Sack him off. People don't want to listen to that. They don't want to listen to stupid people saying stupid things because they're stubborn or they're trying to be, it winds me up. It winds me up. Any type of content that is done to try and wind people up. There are certain brands that get YouTubers to go and talk shit to expose their brand. You'll get stuff like Liverpool will never win the title again. Let's discuss it. And it's just not a conversation. It's just done for a viral moment. People chasing viral moments with shit takes. I mean, I come out with shit takes, but I don't do it for viral. Can we get a clip of you saying Brexit means Brexit, says Joe? Well, you probably have now. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. As I say, if you go back and look at some of my old content 4 or 5 years ago, I can't deny that there was a time when that was, it did used to happen a lot, but you mature, you grow as an industry, don't you? As a creator, you grow, and I could easily start saying stuff to wind people up, and I don't see the point in it. I don't. I'd rather just talk about football. You work for Talk Sports, says Jack. Yeah, but I listen to my show. I don't start talking. Well, I probably do talk shit, but I don't do it to wind people up. I just express my opinion. My opinion on Wrexham is it's not a fairy tale. I'm not saying that to wind people up. That's my opinion. I do wind City fans up. I don't wind City fans up. I don't find City very credible. Like, they've had 100 charges against them. They've had 13 years of money, and I just don't find them credible. That's not winding people up. That's in a fact. Do you want me to wind people up? I'll tell you what. I'll wind some people up. Let me think of stupid things to say that will wind people up. You can give me a chat as well. Remember when we did book titles you'll never get, you'll never see, like Harry Kane and How I Won the Treble. But what would really wind somebody up? I can think of loads for Man United, but I wouldn't want to wind myself up. But Ahmad scored a goal, says Neo. Still 0-0. Yeah, look, well, Arsenal are playing. Arsenal will never win. No, Arsenal, Aston Villa have won more Champions Leagues than Arsenal, and Arsenal will never win the Champions League. I mean, I don't believe that, and two, it's just done to wind Arsenal fans up, isn't it? It's not 2-0 to Arsenal, offside. Got a lovely cup of tea now. I tell you what I like. I mean, I'm not opposed to having the conversation of will Arsenal win the Champions League, but I've sort of learnt my lesson on those sort of things because I said 3 years ago Liverpool won't win the league in my lifetime. No, it was 5 years ago. Because I think they did win the league 3 years ago. I'd have been a right idiot. I said at some point in the last 5 years that Liverpool won't win the league in my lifetime. And I genuinely believed it. And then within 2 years, they won the bloody league. That's how quick football can change. I think you could have said it about Arsenal in the summer. Arsenal won't win the league in your lifetime because they're finished and everything like that. But football can change very, very, very quickly. I'd rather say, who do you think is going to win the league next? Chelsea or Liverpool? Who do you think between those two clubs will win the league next? And I think those sort of things are a great conversation. Who will win the league next between Chelsea and Liverpool? Because both teams are capable of doing it. both teams are definitely going through transition, and both teams could get worse. So, I think I like those sort of conversations rather than, Chelsea are never going to win the league again. I'd rather have that sort of thing. Nick Hill was saying that Martinez hasn't played most of United's games. Burley, Nicol and Hislop were all terrible footballs. I'm old enough, says Williams Turner. We'll do a poll on it. Yeah, I quite like these sort of things. Let's end this poll, by the way. Arsenal are winning 1-0. No goals in any other games. No goals in any other games at the moment. Still 0-0 in every other game apart from this one. Crazy going on in the Premier League at the moment. Forest have more European Cups than City, and Pep is a failure and will be a failure because City will never win the Champions League with him, says Stephen Lilly. I hope not. So I've done who will win the league first, Chelsea or Liverpool. Honest answer, I don't have the answer, but apparently Ronaldo scored another hat-trick. He's doing a Pele. He's adding loads of goals, isn't he, at the end of his career? Who do I think will win the league next out of Arsenal, out of Chelsea and Liverpool? Logically, if I had to bet, and I don't, but if I did have to bet, I'd say Liverpool because they've got Klopp who's won the league and they've still got players who've won the league. Chelsea, Graham Potter's never won the league. You don't know who their next manager would be if it's not Potter, and they're going through transition. However, the players that Chelsea have bought and the wealth they've got to buy players at this moment in time is more ambitious than FSG and Liverpool. So you can make a play for both, can't you? I would probably say Liverpool because they've done it with the current manager, but Chelsea have got the better ambition to do it. So Liverpool are at the end. The reason I would say Liverpool is because I've always seen similarities between Klopp and Sir Alex in many ways. The way they play football, their focus, their passion. But for Liverpool to win the title, Klopp's going to have to do what Sir Alex did 3 or 4 times. He's going to have to it's the end of the era for that team. He's got to rebuild that team, and I don't know whether he's going to do that, whether he's going to want to do that, and whether he'll be given the opportunity to do that. Match of the day is going to be a belter tonight, says Jay. Well, you're all going to have football overload tonight, haven't you? Because you've got Man City, Bournemouth at 5:30, and then you've got Crystal Palace at Liverpool till 8 o'clock, of which I'm not watching either. I'm going to be pool. I tell you what, I need to get a live camera in my pool room, and then I can just play pool and chat. That'd be good. Goldbridge plays pool. Might get 5 people watching, but not tonight. I'm going to have a few beers tonight, and then it's work day tomorrow. Chelsea, Spurs, and then the Carabao Cup final. It's a big day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I don't like Saturday night football. If Man United are playing, I'll have to do it, but I can't be bothered with Saturday night 8 o'clock games. I know the worldwide fans love it, but I don't know what English fans think about it or the UK fans. I'm not a fan of Saturday night football at 8 o'clock. It doesn't feel right to me. I do back Potter, but I think tomorrow is a big game. That's why I'm doing a watch-along, Mohammed. I completely forgot at half-time. I've got my pen and paper ready. Because I might actually use some of these. So, and the reason I'm going to use them, it's not for video content. It's for I want some good debate points to develop into polls. So, I don't think this is a hot take. It's not really a hot take. A hot take is when you say something that no one else thinks is going to happen and then it happens. So I've had a few recently. That's a hot take. This is I suppose it's a controversial take. I don't think Wrexham are a fantasy or a dream come true. I think it's an inevitability. I don't see it as a fairy tale. That's my personal opinion. I think I'm in the minority. I also think that the Premier League is the best league in the world for quality and entertainment, and that's why it makes the most money and has the most viewers. I want your controversial takes that you believe in football that nobody else does. For example, I think Harry Kane's a world-class striker, but what team does he actually make better? Does he make Arsenal better? Does he make Man City better? Does he make Liverpool better? Does he make Man United better? Does he make Chelsea better? I think some of them, maybe makes all of them better. Maybe Harry Kane's at Spurs because he's not good enough to go and play for somebody else. But that would be a controversial take. I don't agree with that one. I'm just throwing you examples. So give me some controversial takes that you believe in that might be seen as controversial. Mo Salah's fell off. Mo Salah's finished. That's what that would be controversial. How old's Mo Salah? A fit Arjen Robben was as good as Messi or Ronaldo. I like it. I like it. And the thing I like about these is we're not just making things up to just, piss people off. We're doing it. This is why I like genuine controversial takes, like my Wrexham one. I like genuine ones that get people talking. Villa have got a penalty. Penalty to Aston Villa here. Aston Villa have got a penalty. Who are they playing? Everton. Aston Villa. We've got a penalty there. Penalty to Aston Villa. It's Ollie Watkins to take it. Massive game here at Goodison Park. Simon, over to you. Actually, I want to talk about me, Simon. So here we are. Goodison Park. Ollie Watkins steps up for Everton and he scores. That's a massive goal. Sean Dyche. Can't believe it. But Everton are losing at Goodison Park. Ollie Watkins, Simon. And Aston Villa have got the lead in this crucial game for Everton. What English team has the best chance of winning the Champions League next season, says Mohammed. Next Champions League winner. Next English UCL winner. I like that. We can do that as a poll. Mohammed. Martinez and Varane would start for any club in the world. Well, at centre-back, the great thing about centre-backs is it's a pairing. Mark, Wrexham fall from grace due to scummy owners had the fans buy back their club even though the town is falling apart. Then they were lucky enough to be bought by Hollywood. Definition of fairy tale, says Zaid. You've constructed a good comment. Well done. I don't think it's a fairy tale. Nyla, thank you very much for your super chat. And what English team... And can I just say, apparently Thogden has been to watch Wrexham, so I rest my case. I like Thogden, but it just exactly emphasises what Wrexham is. It's just it's not a fairy tale. It's a very good business plan that's going to work. And if I was a Wrexham fan, I'd be over the moon. But it's a bit like Man City. Not everyone has to think it's a fairy tale. Mud says, controversial opinion, emergence of Man City, PSG and Newcastle are good for football, or else football will revolve around the big boys like Real, Barca and Bayern, says Mud. I've got a controversial thing to say about that. Nobody outside of Man City, Manchester United, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool are going to win the league in the next 30 years. And notice I didn't put Spurs in there. Newcastle, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United and Man City. Nobody's going to win the Premier League out of those 6 in the next 30 years. It's a big take considering in the last 30 years there are teams that have, like Leicester and Blackburn. There is always a team that comes through. But Thomas says 30 years is too long. That's why I said it, because it's controversial, isn't it? Nobody out of those 6 teams is winning the Premier League in the next 30 years. And even if I'm right, I'll be too bloody old to celebrate. I'll be in my bloody 60s by then. Oh. I won't. I'll be in my bloody 70s. God, I'm nearly dead. There's not much point. Oh, why am I doing this? I'm wasting my life. Best player to never win the Ballon d'Or for me was Iniesta. To Stephen Lilly. Well, the Ballon d'Or's a joke anyway. The Ballon d'Or just gets. Ronaldo and Messi are brilliant, but did they deserve to win the Ballon d'Or every single year? I would argue that they didn't. That's another good take. Ballon d'Or shouldn't have always been Ronaldo and Messi. Oh, that would lead people to say Ronaldo and Messi were overrated. Controversial. Kroos and Modric are on par with Iniesta and Xavi. I think I would agree with that. Ojas, I would. No, seriously, were there years that either Ronaldo or Messi won the Ballon d'Or and someone else should have won it? Yes, there were. I mean, Messi won it when Lewandowski should have won it. I'm not saying that Messi and Ronaldo aren't two of the greatest players to ever play the game. I've played the game, but I think there were times when they got the vote because it was easy to give it to them because they were so good. But there might have been years when certain players deserved it over them, but they didn't get it because they weren't them. 100%. I think I'm absolutely correct about that. I think there has been years when that hasn't happened. Baldy is a top 5 left back in the world, says Mohammed. I don't watch him enough because who watches? Does any of you watch any other league, by the way? I think this is a good question. We've got 1 goal at Villa. It's 1-0 to Villa at Goodison Park, and it's 1-0 to Arsenal at Leicester. 2 goals in 4 games. Robert McCormack is ripped up his betting slip. Crazy lack of goals today. West Ham need to beat Nottingham Forest. They need to do it. I'll tell you what, I'm loving the show today. I'm loving the chat. You're legends. You're brilliant. Berbatov is United's best striker in the last 30 years, this Bulgarian boy. Well, I can see why you've said that. Hot take. Ryan Reynolds takes Wrexham to a Premier League title in the next 20 years. Tomo. Frame it. Frame that by Tomo. Hot take. Ryan Reynolds takes Wrexham to a Premier League title in the next 20 years. I can see that happening. I'm glad you've said it, Tomo. I can 100% see that happening. And that would get me wrong. Because I've said nobody outside 6 teams is going to win the league in the next 20 years. Okay, let's develop that then. Here's my point. Nobody outside of Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle and Arsenal is going to win the Premier League in the next 30 years. So for the next 30 years, only those 6 teams will win the league. That's my opinion, right? Those 6 teams. However, if anyone's going to win the Premier League outside of those top 6 in the next 30 years, it'll be Wrexham. And, therefore, Wrexham will win the Premier League before Spurs. It's a controversial take, and I might be wrong, but I actually think there's a chance. Because they're so bloody rich. I mean, they've already got TikTok on their shirts. They've already got a Disney documentary. They've got a Hollywood superstar who owns them. Spurs could get bought tomorrow by Tom Cruise and then things are looking up. But as things stand at the moment, football changes every day, doesn't it? But we can't predict the unknown. But as what we know at the moment, I think you might be right there, Tomo. It's a good point. Mark, the news of Avram Glazer being in Wembley tomorrow makes me sick, says Emmanuel. Well, I'm sure he'll get a good greeting. And you say you don't watch any other league, but you say you watch Serie A. Make it make sense, says Cloud. No, I haven't said that for a while, Claude. And actually, if you stopped stalking me and tried to, catch me out, you would know. Klopp destroys teams after 7 years. Look at his track record, says William. I think that this is the big question for Liverpool. You're not going to win the league again with that squad. He's got to rebuild that squad, a la Sir Alex did it a few times. And that's the big question mark about Liverpool. Will Klopp be given the money, and will he be given and does he have the desire to do something that he needs to do, which is rebuild a team? That's a good cup of tea. On the point of watching other leagues, I've watched Serie A for most of my life, basically since Italia 90. It used to be on Channel 4. I've watched it all the way up until COVID. And good shot by Dewsbury Hall, just wide. I watched it all the way up until... West Ham are winning 2-0? I didn't even know they were winning 1-0. What? West Ham are winning 2-0. What's going on? What's going on? It's 2-0 to West Ham. Don't use BBC. Their bloody website's gone down. It's 2-0. 2 in 2 minutes. Wakey, wakey, says Olu. It is 2-0 to West Ham. They've got to win. Huge, huge win for West Ham if they get it. Danny Ings has changed the game, says Scott. And it's 71st minute and 73rd minute. Massive goals for West Ham. 2-0 up. And Forest are heading towards a loss here. Danny Ings with the goal. The second goal. I don't know whether he got the first goal as well. There was no offside in that. Afternoon, Mark. Massive, 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 massive goals for West Ham. They've got to win. They've got to win that. 2 goals in 3 minutes is Sebastian there. Always liked Ings. Ings' big mistake was going to bloody Villa when they've got Ollie Watkins. Wasted a couple of years there. Afternoon, Mark. Your news about the Glazers sent me spinning. I really feel fans, groups, channels need to organise. Sorry for the downer, but I'm worried, says SK. Don't worry about it, mate. I get what you're feeling. Wouldn't Wrexham need proper wealth to make it up the leagues? Hollywood money isn't exactly Elon Musk level money. Good for the lower leagues, though. They'll get investors along the way, Nick. Wrexham can get to the Premier League off Hollywood money. Once you're in the Premier League, it's difficult, but they'll fly through the leagues with money. Although Salford, I don't know what's going on with Salford. I mean, I know they got promoted, but they've been they're in League 2, aren't they? They've not really moved through the leagues there. Mark, only way that Spurs don't win in the next 30 years is if Daniel Levy lasts 30 years more. They already have the best stadium in Europe, says Koba. I've looked at I suppose I can say it. I've looked at sort of investing or getting involved. Investing's the wrong word because I don't have the money, but I've looked at getting involved with a few clubs and have been asked to get involved with a few clubs. I suppose it's for the social media sort of reach, isn't it, that you could get involved, but you've got to be serious to do that. And I do respect what Ryan Reynolds and the other fella's done, who I don't know who he is. I don't know what he's been in, but apparently he's a Welsh actor. But I do respect them because they put a lot of heart and soul into it, and you've got to. I might do it in the future when I take a step back a little bit, but not at the moment. Yeah, can I? I don't want to. I don't like it when I sort of start on something and then don't finish it because that's what she said. But I don't like that because you don't give people the answer. So somebody said before, you always go on about how much you watch Serie A, and then you've just admitted that you don't watch it. I used to watch Serie A religiously, and I used to watch quite a bit of La Liga and a little bit of Bundesliga. And then COVID happened, and I've never been the same since. And I don't mean I've caught COVID. I have had COVID, and I do think it's made an impact on my body, to be honest, but that's another conversation. I never used to get coughs. I had a really bad cough, and now I cough a lot, and I think that's COVID. But in a short. Put that on a short, 10 seconds. Goldbridge impacted by COVID. I never got coughs, got a cough from COVID, and now I get coughs. End of short. You might get 1 million views. I mean, some people click me up and get views off stupid stuff. But anyway, back to my point. After COVID lockdown stopped me watching a lot of football I used to watch because when football came back, you could watch every single game and the Premier League was on every day, and I couldn't get back into Serie A. So I religiously watch Serie A highlights. I don't get to watch it as much as I used to. So that's the honest answer. But since probably 1991, I watched it for probably just about 30 years, and I do really like the league, but I admit I don't watch it as much as I used to. You rely on Rashford. We've got Martinelli, Saka, Trossard, the three musketeers, says Zane. He's in the house. Schneider should have won the 2010 Ballon d'Or. Van Dijk isn't a top 20 centre-back in the Premier League era. Fergie was a poor coach, but a superb manager. Come on, United, says Nalid. Thank you for that. Thank you. I like those. I like these. They're giving me some good ideas. The other partner is Rob McElhenney. He plays Mac in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, Jameson, you may as well have been reading an Italian restaurant menu there. I've got no idea what we're talking about. West Ham can still get Europa League football as they're still in the Conference League and they can get relegated. Weird, says Nathan. Wigan won the FA Cup and got relegated. It's 3-0 to West Ham. Massive win for West Ham. Forest are going to get dragged back down. They are. They're going to get dragged back down. And Leeds have scored as well. Leeds are winning 1-0 against bottom Southampton. I tell you, the goals are starting to go in now. And it makes a massive difference down there. Every game's got a goal now. Villa are beating Everton at Goodison. Leeds are beating Southampton at Ellen Road. And West Ham are smashing Forest at, I don't know what they call it, the stadium with a running track. Bubbles FC. I don't know. What's it called? The Olympic Stadium? At a guess. Upton Park. No, that's the old one. Fairy Liquid Stadium. It's Lee Chapman who scored with a tap-in. I remember Lee Chapman, Manchester United. You can tell football fans from a certain era. People think we're old. We don't think we're old. Late 30s, early 40s. We're all in our 30s. Mark, why are you always linked with Tillemans? Watched him since he came in. He's a Scott McTominay tendencies of hiding from the ball. Frustrating watch, says DC. I think that Tillemans is a potentially good player. I could see him at a Liverpool. I could see him at a Man United. I could see him at a. I can't see him at a Forest. I could see him at an Arsenal. I think a good coach could get more out of him, but he is inconsistent. Mr. Mann says controversial take. Spurs are better without Son starting. I think he's scored at least 4 goals off the bench this season. He's scored more goals off the bench, hasn't he? If Everton go down, they will become the next Sunderland and be stuck in the lower league limbo for a decade, his original nickname. I don't agree with that. Not with a new stadium. I think they'd be back. Not that a new stadium gets you promoted, but I do think they'd come back. I'm not sure how you do this 2 or 3 times a week, Mark. Some of the chats I'm reading genuinely hurt my brain. I feel for the parents, I really do, says Ollie G. I'm not doing the Liverpool game later, no. I'm having some Camden Hells, if you know, you know. Lovely beer. And I'm having an Indian takeaway, and then I'm playing a bit of pool on my pool table, which is on my Instagram, if you want to have a look at it. I'm not playing, Seb's playing, but at Goldbridge Mark on Instagram. We're only 200 subscribers away from 914,000, by the way. If you haven't subscribed to That's Football, get involved. You're very welcome on here. Bottom right hand corner to do it. Thank you for everyone. Everyone's welcome. Be careful here. Does it work? There you go. You don't have to go onto my Instagram now. Half time, Arsenal now beat the Invincibles. Arsenal, says Constantine. Don't know what that means. Oh, hot take. Arsenal now would beat the Invincibles. Arsenal. I like that. Well, I've always said that the Invincibles Arsenal were shit. I just thought I'd let that land for a few seconds. I don't think they were shit. I lived it. And they were overrated. I'm not saying Arsenal aren't a good side. I'm not saying they're not a good side. But I actually have always said that the 98 double winning Arsenal side was better than the Invincibles. And no Arsenal fan will have it. They won't have it because they want to make the Invincibles something amazing because they won the Premier League wrapped up in a Yorkie wrapper. It was that gold foil stuff. But I actually was more worried about the 98 Arsenal side than I was the Invincible side. But and that's a really controversial take, but they drew 12 games, the Invincibles. They didn't win the Champions League, they didn't win the FA Cup, and they didn't win the Carabao Cup. So I think they are slightly overrated because they didn't win any other trophy apart from the Premier League, and they drew 12 games. They drew 1/3 of their games. It was a brilliant achievement. It's a great achievement to be an Invincible, but an Invincible is not as impressive as winning 100 points. I think the City Centurions was a bigger achievement than Arsenal Invincibles. And that pains me to say that. Just an idea, but could play pool with Fozzie whilst discussing the weekend results, says Luke. Yeah, we could. Possible take Poch was best manager for Spurs, says Daniel Lee. We've come up with... Anyway, look, if you're tuning in, we're actually purposely doing controversial takes. They're not meant to be popular takes. It's 2-0 to Aston Villa. I can't believe it. What's going on? Rest assured I'll be kicking their arse on Monday morning, right around Merseyside. I tell you what, get yourself down to the Liverbird building on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, because I'll be kicking Everton player into the Mersey. Absolute shithousery at Goodison Park. They're an embarrassment. They're an embarrassment to me. They're an embarrassment to Gravel. They are a bunch of embarrassments. And I'm telling you now, I know what Everton means to this great city. And I don't care. Tarkovsky's going in first. I don't do favouritism here. Absolute wankers. They've embarrassed me. This is a Dyche world, and we're all living in it. And they are a bunch of prats. And I don't even like Goldbridge's word prat, but he's right. And I'm going to kick them all into the river. What do you call it? The River Mersey. They're going in. 2-0. I'm stunned. Great result for Villa. Not surprised. Villa are much improved under Emery, but I'm surprised with Everton losing at home under Dyche as the bubble burst already. Wenger's the best coach the Premier League has ever seen, says Nalid. I think Wenger's the best tactical coach the Premier League has ever seen. He's not the best coach because Wenger had a weakness, and the weakness was Sir Alex Ferguson, because Sir Alex knew he couldn't go toe-to-toe with him at football, but he could beat him with being physical and mind games. So Wenger was a purist. Wenger was an absolute purist, and probably, a professor of football, to be honest. He was more like a respected lecturer than a hard wearing manager. And in a fair game, Wenger would beat you. But football's not fair. Like life's not fair. And sometimes football turns into a scrap down the alleyway. And Sir Alex knew that. And that's how he beat him. And that's why Sir Alex Ferguson's the greatest manager the Premier League's ever had, and arguably the world's ever had, because he could play good football, but he could also play alleyway football. He could also fight, and that was Wenger's weakness. Wenger was a gentleman. Sir Alex would roll his sleeves up and, kick a boot at your face. If Tottenham's owners had invested what Abramovich had into Chelsea, they would have won silverware, says Santiago. And controversial take, world-class footballers today are worse than the world-class footballers in the past, like Zidane and Maldini and Imaginations. I like that because I agree with it. I call it the Rob Lee effect. Robert Lee played for Newcastle and was basically 10 times the player James Maddison is. James Maddison gets lauded as he's got to go for the World Cup. He's a brilliant player, and he is. But Rob Lee shit all over him. And we had loads of players like that 25 years ago in the early years of the Premier League, and they didn't always get picked for England. Nowadays, we overrate the players and try and make out that they're brilliant, and they're not. They're good players, but I actually think that football players are fitter now. I don't think they're better now. Mourinho Porto was better than the invincible Arsenal, says Mike. We've done that one as well. Thanks for the super chat. Interesting. Can I just remind people, you're not meant to agree with me. They're meant to be. We're doing controversial takes that you believe in. They're not meant to. You're not. 90% of you aren't not meant to agree with what I say. It's just what I think. And some of the ones we're reading out, we're not meant to agree with them. They're just controversial takes that you firmly believe in. Like I heard somebody say a few months ago. I genuinely think that I'm trying to think who the defender was. I know the one they were talking about. Who was the defender they thought? No, I mean it couldn't have been Harry Maguire because it wouldn't work. What was the question? I don't suppose that's that controversial. I'm trying to think who it was. Oh, you can't go with silence. It'll come back to me. Man City haven't started Kevin De Bruyne or Mahrez, says Ozone. I wonder if there is problems in the Man City dressing room. Tielemans is down injured for Leicester at the moment. Zlatan's overrated, says Logan. I sort of see where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, but I think I would say that is a controversial take that you could have. De Bruyne is injured, says Temi. Ronaldinho is the best player ever, no doubt, says Sergeant Liberty. Oh, I know what it was. Pick the pips out of this. I heard this a couple of months ago. Laporte is a better centre-back than Van Dijk. If Laporte was at Liverpool, he'd play more than Van Dijk and he'd work really well. He's just unfortunate that he's at Man City and Pep doesn't play him as much. And I thought that's a brilliant controversial take because whoever it was, somebody said it on Twitter, whoever it was, they genuinely meant it because it's not good enough to just be said for winding up. If you wanted to wind people up, you'd say Maguire's a better centre-back than Van Dijk. It was generally a controversial take, but it had substance, and that's what a good controversial take is. And they basically said Laporte is a better centre-back than Van Dijk, and if he was at Liverpool, he would play more, and they would be a better team. And I thought, you know what, that's the epitome of a brilliant, thought-out, controversial take that some people might have, that they'd be in the minority, but actually you can almost see it. It's a bit like that Zlatan one. I don't agree with it, but Zlatan's overrated. It's controversial, but you can understand why some people might think it. And I thought that Laporte one was brilliant example of it. Mark, have you considered buying a treadmill desk? You can walk doing watchalongs. It's healthy too, says Jack. I've never even heard of it, Jack, of all trades. If backed like Ten Hag would have won a Premier League under Mourinho, says Druv. Mourinho did have the equivalent of 200 million in his first summer, though. He had 89 million on Pogba. He had 30 million on Mkhitaryan. So that's 120. He got Zlatan on a free. And I think we paid 15. So he probably had about 130 million in his first summer, which with inflation probably is the equivalent of about 150, 160. And remember, we overpaid for Anthony. That's not Ten Hag's fault. We really should have spent 150 in the summer. That was just bad signings, bad negotiations. If backed, so yeah, Druv. I think Mourinho did sort of get the backing. Can I just say apologies to the Royal Mail X? He's just gifted 10 memberships. You're a legend, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I like this one from Evie. He says Ancelotti's a better coach than Pep. I don't disagree. Ancelotti's career is unbelievable. I think Ancelotti versus Pep is very much like Sir Alex versus Wenger in a way, because if you're talking about who's the better purist football coach, well, Pep's style of football is, beautiful in a sense. I don't personally like it, but it is. I can't deny it's beautiful. It's a bit like saying I don't find Margot Robbie attractive. You can see why people do. She's just not your type. I don't really like Pep's style of football, but there's no denying it's fantastic and he puts a lot of work into it. But Ancelotti is a winner. Yeah. Lucas is right. I was talking hypothetically. I don't find Margot Robbie attractive because I'm married. That's my answer. Hot take, says Mod. The UEFA Nations League is a pointless tournament that should be abolished. Yeah. Big win for Arsenal. Big win for Arsenal. Marcus Rashford has travelled with the squad. Yeah, he was always going to travel. Thanks for that, Khaled. Appreciate that. Hot take, Cantona was the best signing in Premier League history, says Lee Berman. I like that. Mourinho was the best coach United had after Sir Alex Ferguson. Eric Ten Hag not counted. Yeah, I agree with that sacking. I actually think, Man United have had 4 coaches, if you don't include Ten Hag, since Sir Alex. Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer. My honest assessment is Mourinho 1, Van Gaal 2, and Moyes and Solskjaer is closer than you think. I mean, I think Solskjaer did a lot of damage to this football club that has been very easy for Ten Hag. I think in some ways it was so bad under Solskjaer that Ten Hag has been able to make massive leaps because of how bad it was. Because players weren't coached properly and managed properly, you come in and do it and the improvement is huge. What I mean by that is if you take over any business and it's performing brilliantly already, it's very difficult to make big improvements on something that's already very, very good. If you take over something that's absolutely dreadful, I mean, look at it from a restaurant point of view. If you take over a restaurant that's food is giving people food poisoning and every rating on TripAdvisor is, terrible, the only way is up and the improvements you can make are massive. And I think that Ten Hag's a genius, but he's also been able to improve it so massively because of how bad it was. Mourinho is a better manager than Pep, says Schlock. Pep could have never do what Mourinho has done with Porto and Inter, while Mourinho could do what Pep has done as well. I don't disagree with that. Hot take, Rooney was better than both Ronaldo and Messi. That's a stupid take, Tino, but I can understand why some people might think it. And if Leeds avoid relegation, they'll qualify for Europe within the next 10 years, says Benjamin. Hot take, the Chelsea side after the Invincibles was levelled above the Invincibles. I personally think Chelsea 05 is one of the most impressive Premier Leagues I've ever seen. I didn't like Mourinho and I didn't like some of the players that Chelsea had, but that team is massively underrated. I've always said that. I mean, they conceded hardly any goals as well. The United fan base is extremely ungrateful, says Kyle. And hot take, Andrew Tate is not a bad person as the media makes him out to be, says Cloud. I don't really know. I don't really take any notice of that. It's not my thing, if I'm honest with you. Let's have a look at the Premier League table as it stands. Arsenal are about to open up that gap again. They have to win. They've got 2 winnable games to come as well. And it'd be a very big win for them. The Premier League table as it stands would have Arsenal, they're about to win here, 57 points. Leicester have been dreadful today, by the way. 57 points. That would put them 8 points ahead of Manchester United, 5 points ahead of Manchester City. And the bottom of the table is really interesting. Southampton would be on 18 points. Bournemouth on 21 points. Everton on 21 points. That's your bottom 3 tonight. Leeds go to 4th from bottom with 22 points. West Ham go 5th from bottom with 23 points. Wolves, 24 points. Leicester, 24 points. And Nottingham Forest, 25 points. You would basically have 5 points separating 12th to 19th. Very interesting game for Palace tonight against Liverpool. But more importantly, teams like Forest and Leicester need to be very, very careful because their next game for Forest is Everton at home at the City Ground next Sunday afternoon. Some really interesting games. It's been a bit of a dull afternoon in some ways, but there's been some big results in it. Leeds needed to win. West Ham needed to win. Arsenal have won. Massive win for Arteta. And I've got to say, Arsenal's bounce back from the loss against Man City has been remarkable. And they're now firm favourites to win the title again. It just shows you, people were writing them off and they've come back and won it. Neymar will not go down as a Brazil icon like R9, says Woods. Thank you very much for that. Look, thanks everyone for tuning in. I've really enjoyed the show tonight, this afternoon. I know it's been I know we've been all over the place and the games haven't actually been that interesting. I mean, to be honest with you, the Arsenal game was a bit boring because Leicester was shit. Some really good results in the relegation, but I think the chat's been brilliant, so I really appreciate everyone getting involved. Chris Wright, thanks very much for your super chat. Please do subscribe, bottom right hand corner, by the way. Don't forget, tomorrow I'm doing Chelsea's trip to Spurs at 1:30, and then straight after that we're going on to the Carabao Cup final, Manchester United against Newcastle. So it's an action-packed afternoon. We're starting on That's Football, and then we'll move over to United Stand. Have a great evening, whatever you're doing, everyone. I really enjoyed your company. We've had a great show, and I will speak to you all a little bit later. Take care.